Hello everyone. Been working on Big G. That's what I like to call him anyhow. I think I showed you this last night, his body. What I haven't shown you is the tail. Tail came in... let's clear this out. Tail came in 4 pieces. Okay? The problem with that is it means a lot of seams. And so far, this tail has been the worst part of this kit. And I'm going to show you a little bit of what I'm talking about. Let me see if I can find the worst piece. This is the worst one. One, I didn't nip this one off the kit, the sprue very well. So you can see there's a notch in it right there. That seam running along there is going to be really hard to get rid of. Okay? And you got a channeled groove on the side of that seam. It's very highly textured along it. Same thing on the other side. It's almost not round along those seams. It kind of peaks at it. And that is true of every single tail piece. In addition, these tail pieces connect together. Like so. Adding even more seams. But it looks like the tail pieces where they connect together are going to have pretty decent seamage. It's just more going to be along the edge. So I think I might just go ahead and glue these tail pieces together and then work on the seams on them. And it's pretty easy to see how the tail pieces go together. You just line up the like snake lizard pattern on the underside. And then you know you got the tail pieces lined up correctly, because like that they won't work. But again, when you zoom this back out, the worst part of Big G so far is that tail. The other part I think is going to be pretty bad is around the mouth, because the mouth is just a couple of different solid pieces, and I'm not putting that mouth on there until I get that mouth painted, and I'm going to end up masking off that mouth as I paint the rest of this. I want to paint the inside and get it done right, and I don't have the paints for it yet, so I'll get that in the next day or two. And I'm not wanting to use Tamiya paints on that. I want to go buy some more gamer paints. I know where I can get some Citadel paints. I can't get Vallejo here in town, and I'm not going to wait for it to come in the mail. I'm working at too fast a pace to wait for that. That means setting this guy aside for a week or two, waiting for the stuff to come in the mail. Could work on King Ghidorah in that. Oh, sorry, King Ghidorah. I know some of you are going to catch me on my pronunciation. It's King Ghidorah. Well, it really depends on which version of the movie you watch. I remember one version called it King Ghidorah. But I digress, neither here nor there. I'm about to get started on the seam filling. I'm going to try a few things. I'll come back and show you guys what I'm doing with it, just to see. But some of this I can get away with using some Mr. Surfacer and just texturing Mr. Surfacer with a brush. Because if you look at the detail on his chest up close, the lighting's going to go bad, so I'm going to have to zoom it some. If you look at that detail on his chest, that's almost like you hit it with a very stiff brush. So I got a couple of options. File that seam out. I could just use a really hot glue like this stuff on a really stiff wire brush and probably brush that seam right back, that texture right back in. I've been thinking about doing that. I don't know if that's a hot enough glue. I know there's hotter glues than that out there. So that's one of the things I'm thinking of doing. And I think about half the seams on this thing I could do that with. Lacquer thinner would probably do it with a steel brush. So we'll see. That's one of the things I'm thinking of doing with some of these seams. Worst seam on his body is up here. And again, the tail's the worst of it so far. I'm gonna go before I start rambling. I'll be back with an update. Well, been working on Godzilla. Got the tail put on him. I decided to go ahead and glue the tail on because seams are easy enough to get to while it's glued on here. And it's just further along and it makes me feel better. So I don't have that much left to glue on. I got to glue his arms on, his legs on, his spines on the back, and his mouth. The spines on the back are nothing, so I can just pretty much discount them. They glue on and they're done. There's no seams or anything. Now let's talk about the tail, and let's zoom in so you guys can see it. And you can start to see where a lot of the problems on this kit are going to be. Okay? First off, the seam of the body runs right down the center here, then hits the tail and stops. So you can see that transition's just gotta go. Alright? On the side, no seam, and then there's one running along this edge of the tail. So I gotta sand that all out. Just completely gone. Okay? I did the let's squeeze it together as hard as we can and get the plastic to squirt out of the seam method here. It worked fairly well. That's one of the reasons why I switched glues. Until my finger got underneath the glue when I put it in there, and now the FBI can identify who was building this kit if they want to really try, because I got a good old fingerprint right there on this kit. Okay? It's not like in the zoom in I did, so here, let's do it the hard way. Well, there you go. You can see it there. Okay. Got a nice fingerprint on there. I'm going to have to get that off. But that's no worse than anything else on this kit. As you can see, a lot of the tail joint, though, pretty much disappeared as I was gluing it together. So it's just a matter of mashing it up and getting her gone. And what I told one of the guys over at Scale Model Addict, who posted on the forum, is this. With the highly textured detail of this kit, I'm going to nuke those seams and then just replace the texture. And I don't think the texture is going to be that hard to do. If I get a good brush or something, I can just kind of brush that texture in. So I'm going to get at it, because that's where I'm at now, getting rid of the seams. I'll be back when they're gone. Alright, people. I came to a decision when I start working on the seams. They're not done yet. I just want to talk about what I'm doing. First off, with all the textures on this model, it's going to be damn near impossible to maintain them and fix those seams. So, this is what I decided to do. Hobby knife. And yes, you can tell there's lots of plastic shavings on it. Water was here because I started off using some wet sandpaper, then I bumped the water and got it everywhere, but that's beside the point. I take the blade of my hobby knife. There's a spot where I didn't quite get the seams right. I'm holding it perpendicular to the seam and scraping. Completely removing the detail. Yes, it's getting the seam flush, but it's also removing all that detail on the kit. And I know it. I just decided that I'm going to have to put the detail back, and that's going to be the only way around it. The seams, I can't get those seams with all that detail there. There's just no way. So that's what I'm doing. I've already repaired all the detail along here, along the center seam. Let's see if we can see that if I zoom in a little bit. But my camera doesn't like to zoom in. It's better for me to move the object. You can still see the seam lines there, but I've recarved every single one of these details along here where they went soft when I started removing the seams. So I've recarved all that. That didn't really take that long. Only thing that's troublesome is that this is a lightly brushed detail, so I'm going to have to get some goop, something that's kind of goopy, and brush it on there and get it to match. We'll see how successful I am at that. I should get to that tomorrow night, actually, as a test run working on that tail, because I've almost got all the seams worked off that tail. I need to do some work around each segmented joint a bit. I'm going to take a panel scriber and scribe along those seams. Not along the seams, but along each joint, and kind of deepen them up some. Okay? And there's a few spots I need to fix with some fill, but not much. So let's see where I get with that. I don't think I'm too far along. I mean, doing too badly right now, considering I've almost got all the seams done on the tail. I'm going to approach the arms that way, the legs that way, and the feet that way, and then refly the detail. If it goes the way I think it does, by the end of Saturday, I want to have all those seams done and be thinking about paint. What's going to hold me up is this, though. I need those legs for the diorama off the Big G. Why, you might ask? Footprints. I can't put footprints in the diorama without those legs. So I'm trying to think if I want to cast a footprint and then make a foot, or just hold off on putting the legs on until I got the diorama set up and the groundwork done. I got so much to do on this thing that I'm probably going to take that route and just hold off and finish the seams up and painting on this. Because the diorama part, quite frankly, is scaring me more than Godzilla is, or King Ghidorah. Sorry, I'll get it straight sooner or later. It just depends what movie you watch. Bad English translations called it Ghidorah. I'm going to go with Ghidorah, because that's the modern one. Bam! That's where I sit. Removing the detail, going to have to replace it. Again, that really shouldn't be all that bad, because all I have to do is make some aves and roll it really thin and just layer it on. So I've got this stringy detail right back on it that you guys can see there. Okay? I just need to get that stringy detail back on there. And with some really thinned out aves laid along there, I think that'll work. I'll take some work, yes, but it's going to be better than trying to preserve that and fix those seams. And faster too, most likely. So that's where I stand on the Big G. Talk to you later. That's it for tonight. I got to start a new day and work tomorrow.